Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another C-Files. Yep, we're in the car again. We will be doing the car videos probably till the end of January, the way it's looking. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, if you subscribed. And let's see if we can't get more subscribers, more likes. Just share the channel. And let's have a conversation together. I hope I'm bringing a unique perspective to some things. And even if you don't agree with everything I have to say, that's okay. It's good to hear the other side of the story. And it's good to hear other perspectives. That way we get a full picture of how people view things. So that's important. Well, it looks like the deep state globalist, or globalist deep state, whatever you want to say it, are getting some serious pushback going on. I'm sure the news media didn't expect to become wholly insignificant and start losing tons of subscribers. They had such a monopoly and a domination for so long that, it was an empire that nobody thought could be taken down. But they have been taken down, and they are largely insignificant now. It's gotten to the point to where the alternative media, videos like this one, and programming like the alternative programming that's out there, is outstripping or outperforming the mass media. Tucker is doing better now than he was when he was with Fox. And Fox has taken a huge hit. So that's one pushback, because people got tired of being lectured. People got tired of only having one side of the story. People got tired of being lied to. All of the propaganda and deception that comes out of the mass media. People got sick of it and decided, you know what, we don't have to put up with this anymore. Now, there's a small diehard group that are still going to watch the mass media because they haven't figured out yet that the world is changing. I'll keep that thing from rattling around. They haven't figured out that the world has changed. And they'll probably never figure it out. They're going to live in the past forever until the day that they go home until the day they depart this world, right? But the vast majority of the people are waking up and they're going elsewhere for their information. The second pushback is with the attempt to keep Trump off of ballots in states. Colorado and Maine are the two main ones right now. It's going to go to the Supreme Court, and now the Supreme Court has a bigger reason to take the case, because it's now been announced that Missouri and Florida and possibly even Texas are going to be kicking Biden off of their ballots. If it can be done to Trump, it can be done to Biden. And it can easily be argued that keeping the border wide open and allowing people to come across the southern border is an act of insurrection and an act of treason. And that's just one of the arguments. That's an argument that Texas used. So there's also the corruption cases with the Biden family. This, the investigations going on of impeachment and the House. So there's plenty to make an argument that, well, Biden needs to be taken off the ballot. I mean, if the new standard is merely make an accusation and that's all that's needed to take someone off the ballot, then hey, that's easy when it comes to Biden. So Trump has never been charged or convicted of insurrection. Never charged, not even charged for it. So this is a high level of warfare, folks. And it's not they're gonna try to say, well, it's Democrat versus Republican. And it's getting to the point of being ridiculous. An election hasn't even, the primaries haven't even they're not even started well yet. And we would just hit 2024, and already they're wanting to take people off the ballots. Well, and they'll say, well, see, the Democrats did it, so the Republicans are going to do it. No, this is not Democrat versus Republican, because there are Republicans that wanted to keep Trump off the ballot. They are the rhino, globalist, deep state Republicans. What this is the deep state bureaucratic and elected oligarchs, the globalists who believe in an open border, who believe in eliminating the concept of nations, and who believe in having a small group of people ruling over the entire world and telling all of us how to live and what we can and can't do with our lives with strict adherence, versus we the people, the populace, who want to be free. And we don't want some small group of elitist, so-called elitists, they call themselves elite, running every aspect of our life. We want to be able to make our own decisions on how we live. And so, that's the battle. And so I don't know if the globalist, bureaucratic oligarchs, both world government and national government, had any clue that they were going to get this kind of pushback. I think maybe some of them were caught off guard and surprised by it. Regardless, the pushback is happening and it's not going to stop. Here's the danger that we're facing. This movie Civil War that came out, that's going to be coming out, the trailers are already out on it. If you haven't watched the trailer, go watch it. It's pretty interesting. It may be closer to reality than many of us may realize. This is going to be the last straw, folks. If the globalist oligarch dictators are successful in shutting down this election or keeping Trump off of the election, and if they can kick Trump off, they're going to try to go after Vivek Ramaswamy as well. They don't like him either. And they're able to cheat their way through fraud or through the use of shutting the election down by a fraudulent means of declaring martial law, which is a high possibility that they could try to do that. Then what they're hoping to get is the people in the country fighting each other in a civil war. And then that weakens the people, and the globalists become more powerful, and then they can implement their plans to basically enslave us. But that's not what they're going to get, and this is a warning to them, because I don't think they understand, because they've lost touch with the people. They don't understand the people. They don't understand you and me. They don't understand how we think. They don't understand why we think the way we do. They don't understand our lives. Amos chapter 5 in the Bible records a similar situation where the rich people in Israel were really oppressing the poor. And they actually literally had a slave market going on. And they were just treating the poor like pieces of property, like they owned them. And God rebuked them for that and brought the prophet Amos, and I think, I'm going to say Isaiah. It's one of the main prophets, along with Amos, to tell Israel, look, you better stop this nonsense. You better repent, or I'm going to bring a ton of bricks down on top of your head, to put it in modern vernacular. Basically, he was going to bring the Babylonian army down and wipe them out. And he warned the women who were so high and mighty and thought they were rich and untouchable and could treat their servants any way they want, mistreat them. He said, I think it's Amos 6, he says, you will have hooks in your mouth. And the Babylonians, when they would come down and conquer a nation, they would take hooks and hook the people like you'd hook a fish, with a fishing line, and line them up with hooks in their mouths and lead them off to Babylon. Very, very cruel people. Nebuchadnezzar was very cruel toward those he conquered, until he got them into Babylon, and then he would, the ones who were the most oppressed, sometimes he would just let them live a normal life. But the point is, this is what God will do to the globalist oligarchs if they don't repent and get right with Him. Bottom line, if they don't repent and get right with God, they're in for a major, major shock. I think it was Jeremiah tried to warn them. Amos tried to warn them. They didn't listen. They didn't listen. They didn't believe Jeremiah. They didn't believe Amos. And because they thought they were impenetrable. Samaria stood up on a mountain. It was elevated. Impenetrable wall, they said. That it was a place that would be very difficult to conquer. Babylon ran right over Samaria as if they had Sherman tanks going in there. And they didn't have tanks back then. I mean, I would just put them under siege, and that was it. They were done. God empowered Babylon to bring His judgment. So those who want to oppress the poor, traffic children, human trafficking, the sex trade, all of that, and you think you're untouchable, you might want to think again. Read the book of Amos. So the pushback is happening. The people are rising up, and I believe it's a stirring of God that's causing the people to rise up. And the days, in my opinion, the days of the globalists are over, and the final battle is 2024. 2024 will decide our future, I believe, for the next 5 or 6 generations. So, I don't think the globalists are going to win this one. But what might they do over the next 6 to 8 months to try and get what they want, get their way? They could use a number of different methods: a new pandemic, an EMP attack where they try to knock out the power grids and so forth. They could use well, I had something in mind. Now I can't think of it. Anyway, as it comes to my mind, I'll mention it. But that's 2 ways. There's a 3rd way, and I can't think of it. But there's different methods they could use to try and shut down the nation under martial law. They could say there's major insurgency groups in the nation. These patriot groups, they're a danger to the nation, and we're going to have to declare martial law and cancel the election. That was the 3rd one. So those are 3 possible ways that they could try to shut down the election for 2024. Just make up a crisis that would require the implementation of martial law and just shut it down. Now here's the problem if they do that. There are 11,000 well-trained veterans in this country. There are thousands upon thousands of retired and former law enforcement officers that are well-trained. And there are thousands of hunters, like deer hunters, who are very good at hiding in the woods and very good at targeting a target way off and hitting the target, namely a deer. But these people will look. There are thousands upon, well, there are hundreds of thousands of people, millions in the United States, who will not submit to 15-minute cities, forcing them into an electric vehicle or taking away their vehicle, forcing them to eat only certain kinds of foods, restricting their movement, all of that stuff that goes along with martial law, goes along with mandates and restrictions. This time around, there are a lot of people that are not going to submit to that. And if the people are put under siege by any means, they will, from what I can see in the country and what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing, they will rise up, and there will be a civil war. And I think the deep state are trying to predict a civil war with this movie that's coming out. But I believe it will be a civil war, but it won't be a civil war of the left versus the right within the country, states versus states. It will be a civil war of the oligarchs in Washington, D.C., the World Economic Forum, the UN, the WHO, the Bilderberg Group, Bohemian Grove. You can go down the list of the globalist organizations and assets against we, the people. It'd be the populist against the globalist. Folks, I hope we don't see that. Because anyone who's ever been to war knows that things get really, really nasty in those situations. We don't want that to happen, but my concern is that if the feds push too hard, that's exactly what will happen. And the feds will find that they have picked a fight that they can't win. That's my humble opinion. So don't pick the fight. Don't pick the fight, okay? Leave us alone. The only thing the Patriots want is just to be left alone. Let us live our lives the way we want to live them and leave us alone. That's all. Now, the country as it was founded originally is gone. The original United States for America is gone. It was replaced by the Corporation of America. 1871 was a year of the founding of the Corporation of America. This had to do with the bankers taking a lot of control over our nation and beginning to erode our liberties and our freedoms. 1933, of course, was a big date on the taxing, income tax, and so forth coming in, which, if you can tax the income of a people, you can control them. You can rule over them. And that was a big step toward that happening. So over time, incrementally, we've been losing our country. Long before I was born, it was already happening. And I'm starting to get kind of old now. But patriots are figuring this out. People in the country are figuring this out, and they're pushing back, and they're saying, no, we're not going to live this way. We're not going to go into virtual reality like the Matrix and live all of our lives in that kind of a situation, which is what the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab wrote in his books, that would be coming down the lines. Yuval Noah Harari wrote that in his books as well, that would be a reality in the 15-minute cities. Folks, if we continue doing what we're doing and continue pushing back, I don't think any of that stuff is going to become a reality. All right, a few suggestions on things we can do. Stop living financially in the manner that the deep state and the globalists tell you to live. Namely, credit. Credit has done more to destroy freedoms and liberty in this country than anything, because it enslaves the people in debt. We claim about the country being trillions of dollars in debt to these international bankers, and yet, what do we as the people practice? Staying in debt. Why? So we can get a FICO score? FICO score is a form of manipulation. Oh man, somebody hit a skunk. Folks, stop hitting skunks. Anyway, do you guys enjoy this? I'm driving on the road and I complain about a skunk spraying or something. Anyway, when we live our lives in debt to make FICA happy, we are enslaving ourselves. And we cannot defeat a globalist oligarch that wants to enslave us if we're shooting ourselves in the foot by increasing our own debt. Car loans, credit cards, these rent-to-own schemes. Oh, but I get 0%, financing if I pay it off at the end of the month, of each month. I mean, all of these things we say that, I can beat the system. I can beat the credit system if I just do this. I can get my airline miles and all this. Folks, if that is the extent of our understanding, if that's the extent of our understanding when it comes to finances, then we have just lost the war. Okay? We lost the war based upon our misunderstanding of finances. And guess what your finance professor in college told you to do? The very thing that would enslave you into a globalist system. They weren't on your side, and they weren't telling you good wisdom. Want wisdom? Go to Proverbs, go to Ecclesiastes, go to Psalms in the Bible. You'll get wisdom when you go to those places. So, it's our responsibility to teach ourselves through study of Scripture what God has to say about finances. The number one thing we have to do before we do anything else to secure our liberty in this nation is to change the way we handle our finances. So, credit cards, bank loans, auto loans, all of that. Got to get rid of it. I don't have a credit card. I don't take out bank loans. And I don't do loans to buy a car. I have a Challenger and a Charger and the pink slip on both of them. So, because you know why? Because I save up the money and then I buy it. So how do you do it? What you do is you buy what you can afford. Drive it for a year or two, save up more money, and you don't finance a used car. You buy it cash, you save up cash, buy it, take what you normally would have done in payments, put that away in a money market account or something of that nature, build it up, trade the car you are driving in with the added money that you saved up, step up to a little bit of a better car. 2 years later, step up to a better car. 2 years later, step up to a better car until you get a car that's, maybe a year old, 6 months old, or maybe last year's model still sitting on the car lot and never sold on the new car lot. And you've got a car that's going to last you 10 years in great shape. Keep it maintenance, take good care of it, and you've got a car with pink. You walk away from the dealer with the pink slip. Okay, no payments. You know what? You know who hates that? You know who does not want you doing that? The globalist, oligarch, dictator overlords that want to enslave you in debt. They're the ones that really don't want you doing that. But I have my credit card for an emergency fund in case something goes wrong. I can use my credit card to pay for emergency repairs on the house or emergency repairs on the car, whatever it might be. No. Dump the stupid credit card, which is keeping you under the thumb of the very people you're trying to fight, and build up an emergency fund. Begin with $1,000, and then over time, build it up to 6 months, 3 to 6 months worth of salary. If you've got if you got $30, $40, $50,000 sitting in the bank because what normally you would have been paying in credit card payments and car payments and bank loan payments is going into a money market account or CD certificate or whatever it is you put it in, within a few years, you got $30, $40, $50,000 for an emergency fund. And guess what? You got to fix that car? Instead of slapping down the credit card and serving the globalist financial masters that want to enslave us, you are doing the credit card of your family name because you own it, and you're writing out a check and you're paying for the repairs. I'm dropping an engine in a car. The engine wore out. The car's kind of old and the engine wore out. Okay, give me another engine. I didn't want a junkyard engine. I wanted a refurbished engine. Everything in that engine is going to be brand new except for the casing on the engine. And I'm sure they grinded that down, repainted it, and made it nice. Everything else is going to be brand spanking new on that engine. So I'll get it with a warranty. Wrote out the check. No credit card. Wrote out the check. But I can't rent. I can't buy a house. I can't do anything without a credit card. They require a credit card. Not everybody does. You go to Churchill Mortgage, you can buy a house without a credit card. You can buy a house without credit. They'll underwrite it. They don't require you to have credit to buy a house. I bought my house through Churchill Mortgage. So I'm telling you things that the deep state, propaganda machine is not going to tell you. Okay? They're not going to tell you this. Number one, get your finances straightened out. Be debt-free with money in the bank for emergency. And your life will change drastically. And you don't have to be rich to do it. All you have to do is be smart with your strategies. That's it. Just be smart. So, once you get the finances done, guess what you're able to do after that? You're able to concentrate on other things. Things that are of great importance. But if you were buried in debt and you're trying to survive paycheck to paycheck, you wouldn't be able to do those things. I'm going to be running for city council here in my little town of about 4,800 people, between 4,800 and 4,900 people. It's a city, but it's a small, very small city. And I'm going to finance my own campaign. And I'm not really going to be looking for donations. I'm just going to finance my own campaign and try to get elected. Because when stupid dictates come down from on high, that demanding that our city do this or do that, I'm going to be going, nope, we ain't doing it. And I'm going to be trying to convince my fellow commissioners, my fellow city commissioners, town council, to not do it as well. I want to be a positive influence on my community, and I want to protect my community from evil and from dictates of government that are harmful to the people. I want to protect them. But I couldn't do that, folks, if I wasn't debt free. Step one, then step two. So if we want to take over and kick the globalists out of our governments and put regular people in that will take care of the communities rather than looking for ways to stab the community in the back and get rich and climb the ladder, we're going to have to get our act together and be smart in how we handle our families, our finances, our relationships. Have a good church to go to, so you have, you can worship God, and you can have people that will take care of you when you're in need. These are the basics. So let's do that, and let's fight a good fight. Remember to do things biblically, according to how God determined them. We don't do things ignorantly or the way the world does it. We fight in prayer on our knees. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time on the C-Files.